Today we will start the next lesson, that is the national liberation movements in colonies. Do you know what is meant by a colony? Yes, you are right. Colony means a country controlled by another country. Means a colonial master will control the colony. And you know very well that India is the colony of the Britishers. Like that only, if you see the world map, that is during that particular period, 1920 to 1950, you will observe that many of the countries in Asia and Africa, they are the colonies of different European countries. The European countries, in order to secure economy, in order to get more and more raw materials and in order to get more and more markets, they started occupying different countries which are not industrialized at that particular time. Like in Africa, like in Asia, so many countries were colonized. Now here comes, that means this particular lesson, already we learned about this imperialism or the colonization of Latin America and African countries in 9th class itself. Now in 10th class we will learn how they got liberated from these colonies. What are the methods that they have followed? So let us have the case study of 3 countries. The first one is China, the second one is Vietnam, third one is Nigeria. Like this we will learn about 3 important colonies which fought against the colonial masters and won independence from them. First let us focus on China, because it is our neighboring country, no? So we will learn first about China. China, which country has colonized China, do you know? China is not a colony of a single country. China, it was occupied, we remember about the opium wars and also the intrusion of many of the countries. So China, it has been packed by the entry of more and more foreign countries, European countries. But at that particular time, Manchu Empire, Manchu rulers were ruling China. These Manchu rulers, they were considered as the foreign rulers because China native people, they are not ruling the China. Manchu dynasty, which belonged to the Central Asia, they were ruling China. Hence, they started feeling that this Manchu dynasty should not be there and China should be controlled by the native rulers. This is the main contention. So, at that particular time, one of the famous scholar who learned education in foreign countries, that is, he went to Russia and also he went to France to learn so many revolutions, and he understood that it is very, very important for the establishment of an independence in China. First, we should get rid of all the foreign dynasties. He understood that, and hence for that particular purpose, he has formulated 3 principles. He established the National People's Party, that is Kuomintang Party. This Kuomintang Party was established by Sun Yat-sen. He has adopted mainly 3 principles, that is San, Min, Chui. What is the first principle? San, nationalism, democracy, socialism. Nationalism means what? The rule by the people of that particular country. So, for the rule of that particular country, first they should overthrow the Manchu dynasty which was ruling. It was overthrown by the Sun Yat-sen in the year 1911 and established a republican country. Means what happened? He has established a democratic country. Republic means what? A country which is having an elected head. So, an elected head is there, republic means automatically democracy was there. So, democracy was there and nationalism was established. What is the third one? That is socialism. How he wanted to establish socialism in China? By the nationalization of the industries and the nationalization of the land. Means all the lands and industries shall be under the control of the government. But unfortunately, he could not consolidate his power. Why? Because the regional warlords, the regional landlords, in the name of the warlords, they did not allow Sun Yat-sen to go with this land reforms. You see here, actually in China, a land was owned by a landlord. In order to protect his land from other landlords, this landlord, he used to maintain huge army also. And so what happened, this particular army of landlord, they always protected the land from being confiscated by the government also. That is the reason, as these landlords who are called as warlords were very powerful, Son Sen is unable to undertake this socialistic principle or the confiscation of the lands and redistribution or nationalization of all the industries. And so of course 1911 he became he established a republic, but he was not that successful. He did not gain good name. And at that and he was considered as the father of modern China. Why? Because democracy or a republican form of government was established. Of course, he failed in socialism, but he failed in nationalism, but he succeeded in nationalism and also in establishing democracy. The next thing is, in the year 1919, China participated in the First World War on behalf of the England. So they expected that what are all the areas that were lost to Japan previous to the First World War, they would get back all those areas. They expected, but you know, the duality of these Britishers. They did not take any action on favor of the China. Means when the Treaty of Versailles was signed at that particular time, they did not consider the demands of China and just simply they ignored the interest of China. This gave rise for already the dissatisfaction is there among the people. This is the ignition with which what happened, the dissatisfaction has come out in the form of an agitation, and we call that as the May 4th movement. On May 4th, 1919, the students in Beijing, they have come out on a demonstration demanding a modern, scientific and a democratic China. Why? Because China was an isolated country which believes strongly in the old traditions, in the orthodox principles. Due to that, what is happening, these scientific inventions or the rationalistic thinking, it was not getting intruded into the minds of the people. The students who understood that it is very essential to go for the scientific approach, they went on, they demanded so many things as a part of the May 4th movement. And for the first time they have raised their voice asking for the abolition of the foot binding, the cruel practice, reducing the inequalities in the society, woman subordination. At the same time, they have also demanded for sending away all the foreigners out of the country such that the economy would develop. The economy, because all the foreign countries like European countries were participating in the trade and they are having more say in the economic policies. Now they started demanding that throw away all these people, throw away all these foreigners such that we can have a perfect economy. To abolish the poverty, to remove the poverty. And at the same time, they have also asked for simplifying language, a simple script and simple language, abolition of the old marriage laws, and simplifying the divorce procedure. Like this, they have come out by asking for the removal of more and more social evils in the society. They wanted to go with the development of the China. So now these, by looking on to the demonstrations, both that means both the parties, they understood that okay, the people are not happy, we should have some more concentration over this. And at this particular time, that is after this, another party has come into existence, that is 1921, the Chinese Communist Party was established by the Mao Zedong. Now, meanwhile, during that particular period, both Mao Zedong or Son Sen, they have very good understanding in formulating the principles for the development of the people. Unfortunately, Son Sen died in 1925. Before he died only, they have come out with a common policy, that is, what are the 4 great needs of the people? What exactly the people need at that particular time? What are the four great needs? The four great needs are food, shelter, clothing, transport. The people need food, shelter, clothing and transport. Like this they understood that. For that what they should do. Like this they were formulating the principles. Unfortunately Son Yat-sen died. Immediately Chiang Kai-shek became the successor of Son Yat-sen. When Chiang Kai-shek became the successor, first step what he has taken is militarizing the nation, taking the help of the army to suppress the warlords, because he understood that why Son Yat-sen could not gain the name is because he is unable to establish a socialistic pattern of society due to the warlords. Hence, to suppress the warlords and militarize the nation, first step. The second step is he is very conservative. He is not having liberal ideas like that of the Son Yat-sen. He wanted to confine the woman to the household works. Hence, he has come out with the principle of saying that four principles. What are the four principles that he has adopted was work, speech, appearance and chastity. And they have even interfered into the woman or into the woman's life by dictating the length of the hamlin, that is the frock also. That means you can see very clearly that he was very orthodox and very conservative. Why I am saying about that fixing the length of the hamlin means you can observe that he wanted an orthodox and a very traditional society, but he is not in favor of the liberal ideas. At the same time, he is not having a very broad outlook like that of the Son Yat-sen. Because of his conserved ideas, he never has given importance for the broad ideologies of the Son Yat-sen. And next thing is, apart from this, Chiang Kai-shek, he also has given priority for the improvement of the lives of the petty urbanites. He always looked on to the problems of the petty urbanites, that is Zio Shamino. We call them as a Zio Shamino. So Zio Shamino means what? Very in the urban areas, small petty shops are there, fruit juice making or the repair shops, like this small. What are the problems of all those poor people? What are the problems of those petty urbanites? Wanted to identify and solve them only. But if you see really, in China is an agrarian country. That is, economy is based on agriculture. Means all the villages or the rural areas, they are having the peasants, and the peasants are the more population in the country. But ignored the problems of these peasants and gave highest priority for the petty urbanites and their problems. With this what happened? The means they are unable to make an equilibrium in the society, ignore the problems of the peasants. But now like this, Chiang Kai-shek was there as the ruler of China, that is Kuomintang party was there. Now at this particular junction, already I told you that 1921 Mao Zedong established the Chinese Communist Party with the influence of the Kuomintang of Lenin. So he got influenced by Lenin, and Kuomintang established the Chinese Communist Party, and he has taken up a different view. Now he wanted to go by giving priority for the rural people or the peasants' problems. He understood that 70% of the population, they are the peasants, and the problems of the peasants, unless they are solved, he cannot do justice to the people. And here comes the difference between the Russian system and this Chinese Mao also. The Lenin or the Russian system, they gave highest priority for the workers in the industries. But whereas Mao, he has concentrated on the problems of the workers in the fields, that is the agricultural laborers or the peasants. And hence, to promote the interest of these peasants, he has started encouraged them to form the Soviets. Soviets are nothing but the associations of the peasants. and he used to stay back in the regions, that is in the regions of Jiangxi from 1928 to 1934. In the mountains of Jiangxi, these party, that is Mao Zedong along with his followers, was staying from 1928 to 1934, encouraged the peasants to form into Soviets, encouraged the peasants to fight against the landlords, confiscate the land and distribute to the landless. Like this, what is happening? Parallel government was run by Mao Zedong. Hence, law and order was disturbed. The landlords automatically gave complaints to this Chiang Kai-shek. So Chiang Kai-shek and his government, they started attacking onto Mao Zedong. One thing is landlords, they gave the complaints. Second thing is the increase in the popularity of Mao Zedong also made Chiang Kai-shek to attack onto this particular Mao Zedong. And now Mao Zedong, to protect himself from the attacks of this Gomindang, or to protect himself from the blockade of this Gomindang, he started hiding himself and he went along from Jiangxi to Shanghai. That is in the year 1934 to 1935, 6,000 ruling miles were run or were completed by Mao Zedong and his followers by hiding himself in the mountains. So you can see very clearly that there was a lots and lots of attacks onto the Mao Zedong and his followers. To protect himself, he started moving along the regions. 1934 to 1935, we call that as the Long March in the history of China. And during this particular period, while he was moving in the mountainous regions, encouraged the peasants to go with the land reforms, that is Soviets. Like this, he improved his popularity. And here comes, that is in the nation, that in the total world itself, there was one more danger. What is the danger? Second World War began in the year 1939. And just before the Second World War, Japan became one more imperialistic country and started demanding more and more colonies for itself. As a part of its own policy, it started occupying the areas in China, and it continued from 1937 to 1945. See, observe that 1937 to 1945, Japan's attack on China continued. Means now it is the duty that was cast upon this Gomindang party and also the CCP to protect their country becoming a colony of Japan. And for that particular purpose, both Gomindang party and CCP together, along with all the strength and all the army, they started fighting Japan. They started resisting Japanese entrance. And you know very well that is by bombing on Nagasaki and Hiroshima in August 1945, the Second World War has come to an end and Japan has to surrender itself to USA. With this, what happened? Japan has to go back from China. So Japan receded back. Japan went back by 1945. Now, here comes the problem. That is 1945, Japan went back. By 1947, everything was restored. But who should rule China now? Whether that is Gomindang or whether that is the CCP. Now, internally they started fighting for their equal rights. Here, we should remember that Mao Zedong has a different approach than that of the Chiang Kai-shek. Chiang Kai-shek was a conservative, but Mao Zedong, he understood the problems of the woman. He wanted to create a justiciable society where women were given an equal priority. At the same time, he wanted to give highest priority. He wanted to give highest priority for the peasants or for the landlords. He wanted to end the poverty. And another thing is, he always wanted an independent government and independent army, because previously the rulers, they used to depend on the landlords for the supply of the army at the time of emergency, because the landlords, they used to maintain the army, I told you. But this that is Mao Zedong, he has another approach. What he exactly wanted is, he wanted an independent government and independent army to rescue the country in the times of the emergency. So like this, he wanted to go with that. And for the sake of protecting the woman, he wanted to go with the formation of the women's associations, such that the women's associations can resist the injustices very particularly. And even he wanted to promote the marriage laws. The marriage laws that are means giving more importance for going for their choice, forbidding these arranged marriages and going for their choice marriages. Like this, Mao Zedong and his approach towards the woman attracted the sections of the woman. Mao Zedong, his approach towards the peasants attracted the peasants. At the same time, Mao Zedong and his principles of liberalism attracted the educated youth. With all these things, Mao Zedong, he has a more popularity when compared to Chiang Kai-shek. Hence, with the influence of all these things, Mao Zedong, he is able to establish the People's Republic of China in the year 1949. When the People's Republic of China was formed? 1949. So, People's Republic of China in the year 1949 was formed. Now, then you may have a doubt, what happened to this Chiang Kai-shek and the Kuomintang party? Chiang Kai-shek and Kuomintang party, they have to restrict themselves to the island that is called as the Taiwan. So that means what happens? See here, the approach of Mao Zedong is different. Mao Zedong is different from that of the Chiang Kai-shek, which made him to win the hearts of the people. The national liberation movement, here everybody fought for the liberation. Sun Yat-sen also fought, Chiang Kai-shek also, and Mao Zedong also. But who was more powerful, who was more, who got more influence, means definitely Mao Zedong with his liberal principle, Sun Yat-sen with his modern principles. They got that power. And of course, Sun Yat-sen has failed in some of the events. He could not be strong. By removing that particular limitation, Mao Zedong, he is able to conquer the hearts of the people. So like this, China won independence. Now after they formed the government, did China went for a progressive principle or not? This is the question. Means 1949, when China became the People's Republic of China, immediately what did they do? The first thing is, as I told you, that Mao Zedong was in favor of that communist principles or socialistic principles. For that, first step he has taken was that confiscation of the lands and redistribution of the lands to the peasants. So immediately 1950 to 1951, land reforms were undertaken by this government. How the land reforms were introduced or were implemented in China? First of all, they have identified the class of the people in each and every village. A village who this particular Ramaya belonged to landlord category, peasant category or labor category. Like this, the class identification was made. After that, the survey was undertaken. Survey was undertaken by understanding how much of land was there, how many landlords were there, how many peasants were there. Like that, survey was undertaken. And they have appointed one country-wide land reform committee. We call that as the National Land Reform Committee. A National Land Reform Committee was appointed, and this National Land Reform Committee, they have dispatched the work teams. Means this committee has sent the work teams to each and every village. What is the function of these work teams? The work teams, they have to identify the active members of the Soviets. What are Soviets? The associations of the peasants. These association of the peasants, they have identified the landlords. Means see that local self-government of India, we can compare here. The local people, they know who are the landlords, who are the peasants. So these work teams' work is to identify the active members of the Soviets of that particular village. In that village, who are the very good members of the peasants, laborers, they identified them, and they took the information from them. They gave the powers to these active members to confiscate the land from the landlords and to redistribute to all the people. With this, what happened? This National Land Reform Committee, they will be getting information from the work teams. There would be no misguidance, and work teams also, they were always in contact with the bottommost layer of the village. Like this, successful implementation of the land reforms or the land distribution was the main reason for the success of China. In this manner, we can see China has succeeded in promoting the interest of the nation and in promoting the interest of the peasants. Another very important step that was taken by the Chinese government was undertaking the adult literacy programs. They have established the evening schools or the night schools, and literacy programs was implemented. With this, the literate population increased. Universal primary education was implemented. The literacy, of course, along with the regular literature, they are also given importance for the political education. Means they have given highest priority for the understanding of the circumstances of the country also. With this successful formula, this Chinese Communist Party became number one within a short span of time. China became number one in the developing areas. So children, this is the success mantra of China. That means China won the hearts of the people with the land reforms first thing. Second thing is with the education. But of course, within a short span of time, this Communist Party of China, it became like a single dominating power and controlled the affairs, and the premier, he became the dictator of the country. But you can see the success of China.